I don't know where this is
gonna start and where it's gonna end.
Yeah.
And where there's gonna be a middle.
Well, there's always a beginning, a middle, and an end.
And then there's always some interesting parts in between.
Yeah, there's the denouement, which is the rising tension, and the climax, and the falling action, the ending.
In the ipsum forum.
Stories have humps, lovely lady lumps, just like a camel.
My Cocoa Puffs.
Intro. Oh, we're so good at this. We are so good at podcasting. Welcome to episode 4 of the Couple Podcast. Is this episode 4?
This is episode 4.
Yeah, we're kind of failing a little bit, but we're still here and we're still producing sometimes.
Yeah, we're back for another episode. We keep lapsing in our kind of timeline that we had for Friday releases.
Listen, we have 3 kids and they're about to be back in school. I think things are going to get a lot easier once that happens. But right now, we're in this like endless cycle of, hey, mommy and daddy, I want to go ride my bike outside for a little bit. All right, well, I guess I'll go stand with you because I don't want you to get abducted by aliens or anything.
Yeah, we can't just leave them outside to fend for themselves.
Then we get roped into cul-de-sac beers with the neighbors.
Yeah, it can't be helped. It's just, it's an obligation. I don't want to have beers with friends.
There's
it just
no
happens.
time for podcasting when you have cul-de-sac beers every night.
We do have a pretty great cul-de-sac.
It's good. I like where we're at more so than our last home. I think it's been really good for our kids, them having, just a bunch of other little kids their age to run around and play with. And I think especially for Milo, who just turned 5, I think that he's kind of really come out of his shell. When I was actually talking to one of our neighbors earlier tonight about that, just him going into kindergarten this year, we were a little bit worried about his socialization, whether or not he was going to be ready because he's young. He just turned 5 over the summer and he's going to be a lot younger than all the other kids in his kindergarten class. And we were worried about that. But to the point where like at our last house, he didn't really have neighbors or anybody that he was socializing with. So he was just he didn't talk to people. Even if an adult tried talking to him, he wouldn't respond most of the time. And we were a little worried, but
also physically, he's so tiny.
He's a very
so
kid.
tiny and petite, but he's starting kindergarten this year. And he's, this week we're getting him ready for kindergarten we're sending him to what he calls fake school. He's attending like a 2-hour,
camp.
It's a kindergarten readiness at the library every day. And it's just made me happy this week to see how, he's coming out of his shell and he says he wants to go to school every day and he's making friends.
We told him, I think last night at dinner, it was like, Milo, have you made any friends? And he was like, no, I'm going to do that on the last day. And I was like, well, why would you wait until the last day to make friends? You should make friends tomorrow so that you can, talk with them and play with them the whole week. He came home today and he said that he made a friend. I was like, really? Like, what is their name? And he was like,
I don't remember. I don't know.
He tried.
But
so
I made a friend.
To be fair, I don't think Margot learned any of her friends' names for the first year of school.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she'd come home and say, oh, my best friend, I want to have her over for a sleepover. And I'd be like, that's
your
fantastic.
Friend's name?
What's her name?
I didn't ask.
Yeah, I haven't got that far yet. I don't know. I wish things were that easy for adults to just make friends. It's really hard
making friends, which is probably one of the reasons that we haven't had enough guests on here yet. But I don't know.
I think that's why, living in the neighborhood we moved into, it was easy to make friends. We're just surrounded by people with kids our own age, so made it really easy.
It's really easy anytime you just see somebody kind of King of the Hill style standing outside with a beer. You just go stand next to them and yep.
Yep.
I don't know if I had to place myself as any of the characters of King of the Hill, I'm not sure where I would place myself, but it's definitely kind of has that vibe. I would have said that I'm the Khan, but we have a Tao, so.
I can't be any of them since I don't really fit any of those characters except for maybe Peggy.
Hill with her
I have
Peggy Hill
the
feet.
Size 15 feet. Just kidding. They're a size 9. Relax. That's probably the closest that I fit.
Yeah. I don't know. There's not as many.
I'm just the mom.
I was gonna say there's not as many strong women characters on King of the Hill. There are.
Are you saying I'm a strong woman?
You're a strong, independent. Scratch that. You're a strong woman who sometimes need a man.
Sometimes needs man. No, I feel like I always get lumped in as just the mom figure. Like just last night, all the kids are, it's 3 months out from Halloween. They're already planning their Halloween costumes.
They have not shut up about it.
And they've decided we're going to be, doing family costumes this year. And we're all going to be a Stranger Things character. Because they're just obsessed with Stranger Things right now, just like everybody is.
So, like most of us, we get to. Milo has decided that he's going to be Eddie, so we're going to dress him up like a little metalhead, and that'll be a fun costume.
He wants to wear the mullet wig and the jean jacket and the.
Margot, I think, is decided to be Elle, just because. Yeah. I feel like.
I mean, young women. I feel like young girls relate to that character because she's the coolest, main character. Yeah. It's a girl. So that makes sense.
Evelyn decided to be Chrissy.
She's going to be Chrissy.
Like during, not dead Chrissy and not alive Chrissy.
Cheerleader.
Somewhere in between.
Oh, somewhere in between.
Yeah, I think she wanted to do like the blood coming out of her eyes. And she's somewhere in the process of being taken by Vecna.
They like spooky stuff.
They love spooky stuff.
We don't force it on them. They love spooky stuff.
That might have been how it started, but.
But where I was getting with that is everyone has these cool identities. Justin, was talking about he would be Dustin if you've seen Stranger Things.
I did not volunteer to be Dustin, but I think that's where I've gotten
placed by Milo. It would be a funny
But
pairing with Eddie and Dustin. And then I just get to be Will's mom. I get to be Joyce. Which, I mean, Winona Ryder, that's cool. But I just get to be the mom because I'm the mom.
Hey, she's a badass mom. She went all the way to Russia to say, spoilers. Ooh. I might have to cut this. Or I'll put a really funny beep over the whole thing and you guys just won't have any context as to what I'm saying.
That's a fantastic idea.
Except if they're listening to this with headphones on and all of a sudden they just have this like loud tone beep, beep. It might be a little annoying. But it's probably not one of the most annoying things you've heard on this podcast so far.
That's very true. But I don't know. I think I need to get out of just the mom, I don't want to just be known as the mom.
And I think that
how can I get out of that?
To our kids, you are mom.
It's very true.
So
it's
I think
a
that you just
huge
need to be more vocal
identity.
About, I am other things. So who would you choose from Stranger Things?
Okay, so if I weren't a mom, just somebody that I like who would I choose?
Yeah. No, I mean just in general, period. Whether you're a mom or not, who would you be?
That's a good question. I would like to be Vecna, but I don't know.
Are you saying that you want to kill all of us?
No, I mean, that's a great Halloween costume, Vecna. Yeah.
I would be like
terrifying.
Sexy Vecna.
Sexy Vecna.
Yeah. I mean, you got to sexify your Halloween
That's
costumes.
That's true. Sexy Vecna.
Yeah. Except there would probably be some interdimensional beings that would be offended by that outfit.
Very offended.
So they would probably take over our world. And we don't want that to happen.
I can even practice the voice.
Nah, you don't need to do that. All right. Let's hear it. Tell me, order from McDonald's in your Vecna voice.
Hello, I'll have the McChicken.
That was terrible.
Was it?
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something about like his voice, like, so I thought when we first, I want to talk Stranger Things so bad, but I also don't want to spoil just in case there's anyone who hasn't seen it.
I feel like we got to talk Stranger Things a little bit just because it's very relevant and it's on everyone's minds right now. I know it's been on, our kids have been watching.
I guess we've already discussed the character of Vecna. I will just say that, watching part 1, especially, I got some very, very heavy Freddy Krueger, Robert Englund vibes.
Absolutely.
Very, very heavy. Turns out, like, he had a cameo. He played the, so...
He played a character.
Oh, I can't...
I wouldn't
spoilers.
say it.
So I'm not going to say the relation of this character to anybody else. I will say that there is a character though that pops up. He is a cameo, and I very much got these vibes from Vecna, and just like him attacking people in their dreams and kind of going to that dream state and everything. Like I very much got Freddy Krueger vibes, and even the voice. At first, I thought maybe Robert was
maybe
voicing it, but it turns out no. It is what's the actor's name?
It's Jamie Bowers.
Yeah, Jamie Bowers.
Jamie Campbell Bowers.
Yeah. That guy.
Yeah.
He is voicing Vecna. So I was a little disappointed to find out that, it wasn't Robert Englund, but
he did say at first he did try and base, the inspiration for the voice off of Freddy Krueger. And then he decided it sounded a little too nasally and he wanted something a little more terrifying. So he went for more of a deeper. So I mean, you're not far off. I think he did like the initial style after that. But yeah, I thought the whole season was fantastic. And I'm just loving how, the girls are obsessed with Stranger Things right now. And that's all they want to talk about.
I just want to stop hearing Running Up That Hill.
Yeah.
I mean, so the girls,
Chrissy, wake up.
Yeah.
I don't
So
like
it's either Running Up That Hill from the girls or somebody, any of the kids doing the Chrissy Wake Up song, which is all over the internet as well, or Milo just trying to do the first like 4 bars of Master of Puppets from Metallica. The other day I was playing my acoustic and Milo comes up to me and he was like, "Hey, play the Eddie song." And I'm like, "You mean Master of Puppets?" And he was like, "Yeah." And so I played like the first like couple of like verses of it, and he starts like counting down, like imitating like Dustin from the show and like acting out things as I was playing, and I was like, "All right, kid, you go to bed."
Oh yeah. So can I just say, speaking of kindergarten readiness class and Stranger Things, I think it was the second or third day that they were in class. I pick him up at the end at the library and he was all excited to show me the class worksheet they did. And basically they had to draw a photo or draw a picture of their best day of the summer. So he shows it to me and he's like, "Mommy, look what I drew. It's my best day of summer." So I look at it and I'm looking at it and I'm getting more and more just kind of concerned because I kind of knew where, what it was. He's not that bad of a drawer. And I'm like, "Milo, what is this?" And he's like, "Oh, it's Stranger Things, people getting eaten by bats." And I was like, "Oh, no."
Yeah, it was quite the scene that he drew. And at that moment, like I was a little like, "Oh, I should probably be worried about this," but also I was so proud. I think that, if there was ever any doubt that Milo was my child, it probably went away in that moment. Because and I'll even tell this story here in just a moment. We'll come back to this. But like that's something that I would have definitely done as a kid. Matter of fact, I did do this as a kid. Not obviously for Stranger Things, but I remember, so I went to kindergarten in a Catholic school. So I spent the first couple of years of my schooling in a Catholic school. And we had like this assignment where we were supposed to draw ourselves. Like we had an outline of a person and we were supposed to just color in like with our clothing and color ourselves, whatever. And my mom got pulled into the school because I apparently, and I don't remember, I'm a little fuzzy on it, but apparently I drew myself as Freddy Krueger. I even went as far as to like glue some claws onto this like outline of a person so that I had the glove. So, me at 5 years old, I was obsessed with Freddy Krueger. I loved horror films. Like
still do.
I still do. It's big for me. And like, that's obviously that's kind of passed along to our kids. They love it too. But yeah, little 5-year-old me in my Catholic preschool drawing myself as Freddy Krueger. And apparently the teacher asked me why I drew Freddy Krueger. And I looked her dead in the eye and I said, "Because I am Freddy Krueger."
Oh no.
So,
oh, no.
And I turned out okay. So somewhat.
I would say,
somewhat. I'm a functioning adult.
You are a functioning adult and you do well. So that does give me hope for Milo. 50% of me was a little bit horrified because I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what does this teacher think of me as a parent that he's drawing this?" And then the other 50% was like, yeah, that it's a great show. I don't know what else to say about it. And also, if there was a third 50% That's your best day of summer? Really? Out of
so was
all
he
the
saying
money
that-
we, you
I
know,
was gonna say, like, was he saying that he enjoyed watching Stranger Things with us? Is that what he was trying to get across, or
I, even if that
playing Stranger
is,
Things,
if that
maybe,
is what he
or
was saying, I'm a little bit like let down because I'm like, there's a lot of money that we didn't have to spend this summer to give our kids
passes
fun.
to Kings Island?
Oh yeah, we
Pool
did it all for
passes.
them this summer.
We did a lot. We pulled out the stops, which
Oh
is
yeah,
one of the reasons it's been so hard to kind of find time to do some of the things that we wanted to do as adults
yeah.
without the kids. But we got our vacation out of it, so we did get some us time.
Oh yeah.
I do want to go back, kind of what we talked about, theming this episode around, is just like kind of past and lapsed hobbies and interests, things that as a child like we were really into that maybe it's still with us, or maybe for whatever reason it kind of phased out as we grew older. Maybe we revisited those hobbies or interests and kind of came back to it as an adult. Maybe having kids just completely ruined any of that. I don't know. So we already kind of hit on, like me, little 5-year-old me in my Catholic school, being obsessed with horror films. And I know that you love horror films too.
I do,
I don't
but
think
I
I've ever
had a
really
different.
asked you where where your introduction to horror films came from. Like we'll talk. Let's talk about that a little bit. Then we'll kind of get into.
So my love for, and it's not just horror films. It's, I love anything.
Spooky.
I love horror. I love like paranormal type movies. I love just anything like that. It's so fun to me. I think a lot of it for me was the thrill of it because it was always a secret if I was watching something like that as a kid, because I wasn't allowed to watch things like that. So whereas I feel like you were kind of, I think your parents were a little more
Encouraged.
relaxed. Yeah, they were more relaxed about that, and my parents were more strict with things that we were watching or reading. So we didn't have, and I feel like my parents weren't big like movie buffs either. And
Didn't you say that for the longest time you guys had like one DVD?
Yeah. So yeah, before DVDs though, we had a handful of VHS tapes. And I would just watch them on repeat. So we only had Cinderella. We had The Big Green. Do you remember that movie?
Vaguely.
It has like the like ginger kid from The Sandlot in it.
Okay.
The Big Green. We had A Kid in King Arthur's Court.
As you do.
And we had like Snow White or something. We had like just a few VHS tapes.
The worst Disney princess.
I would watch those on repeat because that was like all I had. And other than that, I had to depend on our one TV in the house being available for me to watch something like kid related. And if it wasn't free, it was usually like Law and Order was on because my dad was watching it.
Nothing's changed there. If you
it's
go into
still
your
Law
parents'
and
house,
Order.
it's either Law and Order or Fox News.
Or Fox News.
Those are your options.
Or oddly enough, those investigation discovery weird shows where like there's always a lady like plotting to kill her husband. Like those
I wonder if there's
reenactment
some
shows.
subliminal stuff going on there.
So it was always that. And then once, DVD players became more common in the home, we only had Joe Dirt. That was the only DVD we owned for a really long time.
That's why Mom named you Dirt instead of Nonamaker.
Yeah, that I like to see homos naked. I don't know what else to say. So
I've seen your bumper sticker. Cowboys' butts drive me nuts.
I don't know what to do.
I get to sit here and quote Joe Dirt all night.
I said, that was the only DVD we had, and again, not appropriate for kids, not appropriate kids movie.
I guess it just depends on your environment. Like, I very much like grew up, kind of in a trailer setting for a good chunk of my youth, and that we had that movie, and like that was kind of our national anthem, if you know what I mean.
Well, I kind of depended on going to friends' houses and being able to watch what, they had. And, I think I just grew up, it was exciting for me. I would go to friends' houses. We'd put on some type of a scary movie that maybe their older brother, was watching or let us use, or maybe they would, their parents would take us to the Blockbuster down the road and we would rent something and have some fun nights. And it was always just like the thrill of it and like kind of just I don't know, the feeling of being the ritual of it, just kind of getting together, watching something scary. That never left me. That's probably the most fun activity for me. I love watching movies, just like gathering up together as a group, snuggling on the couch, watching a great movie. I'll take that over board games any day.
See, I do love the board games, but I feel like our kids, like, they kind of get on this kick with board games where, like, that's where they want to do. Mm-hmm. And it does get very tiring, like, when they want to do it, like, every night. When
someone says, do you want to play a board game? I just internally cringe. I don't know why. I'm just like, but there's so little time in the day, and that's what you want to do.
It is very time consuming, but I do love it. Not necessarily at the level that we're playing, like, with the kids, but I enjoy playing some, like, strategy games, or, sitting down for a quick game of, like, Catan or something like that.
A quick game of Catan.
3 hours later, I'm trying to swindle somebody into trading, something precious for my sheep, because I always have an abundance of sheep. But yeah, like, no, I love board games, but playing with the kids can be a little bit tiring, especially when they do get on a kick where they want to play board games. They're
also
like,
so competitive. They're such sore losers too.
Oh, they can't lose.
So that's hard.
I almost, like, just completely destroy them just so they learn to lose with grace. And they still cry every time. So I don't know if that makes me a bad dad, or
they get so mad, so mad.
But yeah, so yeah, horror films and movies in general. Yeah. I feel like, so my upbringing with, like, horror, like my introduction to horror films is very different. I just remember,
you are Freddy Krueger.
I was at the age of 5. I was obsessed with Freddy Krueger
movie.
And I don't remember necessarily where I first got introduced to horror films. That bit's a little bit fuzzy. I don't know if, like, maybe we owned something and I had watched it, or what happened. But I do remember as a very, very young kid, like, we didn't have Blockbuster or Family Video or any of those, like, big chain like video stores or anything like that. We had a small little video store in my small little rural town called Dave's Video. Dave owned everything in this town. He had Dave's Car Corner, that's the car lot, Dave's Car Wash, the car wash. Dave sponsored my T-ball team.
I have a lot of questions right now about Dave.
Dave's still kicking.
Is he?
I think he's down to just the car lot, though.
Okay, that was my first question. Is Dave alive?
Yes, Dave is still alive. But yeah, Dave, like, basically, like,
were they bootleg movies?
No. They were. I mean, it was just a small, like, video store. I just remember as a kid, like, it's very different now. Like, our kids go outside to ride their bikes, and we're hovering right over them, watching their every move. But when I was a kid, like, I would ride, like, 3 miles down the road by myself to the video store. I'd go in there, I'd plop my dollar bill up on the counter, and I would rent an R-rated horror film. No questions asked. They had no problem handing this small child an R-rated horror film. So I remember there just being this wall of horror movies, like VHS tapes. And the covers were, like, I love cover art for horror films. They are so unique and so just kind of mesmerizing. And, like, I just wanted to get through all of them. I loved it so much. And so, like, I kind of just went through as a kid. Like, I'd ride up to the video store by myself, rent rated R horror film, watch 1 or 2 in a night, bring it back, and, like, I watched them all.
Okay, boomer.
It was quite a time, though. So, like, I kind of just fell in love with horror films. It was, like, my favorite thing to watch as a kid. I mean, I watched other things too. Like, I was really big into, this typical, like, Star Wars, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like, all of that stuff that little boys are into. But, like, I love, and, like, Freddy Krueger, he was my killer.
He was your killer.
He was my killer. I know a lot of people, I think, they probably gravitated more toward, the Jason Voorhees, and, like, I love Jason too, but Freddy Krueger, there was just something about being able to step into somebody's dreams, and, like, that just, there's so much folklore around that, and there's also so much inspiration from, like, real folklore and the Pied Piper, and, like, all of, like, there's so much that ties into Freddy Krueger. I was just obsessed even as a young kid about, all of that. So yeah, I had a little bit different introduction, but I've stuck with horror. Horror is, like, one of those things. I might go through phases where there's different types of horror that I'm into. I've went through my paranormal phases where all I wanted to watch was ghost stuff.
Yeah.
I've went through like just, really crappy, campy C-list horror films where all I want to watch is the things that are going to make me laugh hysterically throughout because of the bad production.
I love that. I love getting a good laugh from horror. I don't know why.
Shudder, not a sponsor. Shudder is, if you've never checked out Shudder, the streaming service, it's quite a gem. Like I think around Halloween time, just get it for a month. They usually provide like a free month or so anyway.
Yeah, and they have all those great B and C list like
and they
horror
they have some like mainstream horror on there too. They like have some of the classics. They do have some really good stuff. They have some great series. There's they did a revival a couple of years ago of Creepshow, and they had a season of that, and it was phenomenal. And I believe Creepshow might be coming back.
I really hope so, because it was fantastic.
It was really good.
And it was funny too. Like a lot of them were funny. They were scary. They were well written. So it's just fun.
But yeah, I've been obsessed with horror films my entire life. I want nothing more. Like I think my ultimate life goal, not that I'm ever doing anything to move myself toward this, but I would love to direct a horror film. I think like write and direct. It can be a crappy D-list, like no budget film. I'm perfectly fine with that. Some of those are the best ones. I think I've got the mind for it. And I have a lot of the equipment. I think it's just a matter of motivating myself to do it. Regardless of whether or not anyone wants to give me money to make it, I'll just figure it out. Maybe that starts with producing some short horror films, which we've talked about.
There is a short film that we've been talking about doing.
We kind of storyboarded one, and our plan was to make it like 2 months ago. But again, life happens.
Yeah.
Things have been crazy.
And it's also almost spooky season. So I feel like if we're going to do that, we need to do it very soon.
We've got it's beginning of August now.
That's pre-spooky. It's spooky season eve now.
I think that right now is probably the best time to be like filming.
Oh yeah.
So that I can get through the editing process and release it early October for the entire month of October.
That would be great.
So we'll see. I'm going to try to push myself. It just depends on how the next couple of weeks go. There's a lot happening. But
yeah, it's almost time to whip out our pumpkin spice.
I bought the Starbucks fall blend coffee today.
There you go.
It's not pumpkin spice. I will not stoop to that level, but it's fall. It's got some spice to it, and
we're getting there. Even though it's 90 degrees daily.
I mean,
sticky and it's hot.
it's gross. I miss, speaking of being a kid, like I feel like by this time, like around like the time school is starting back up, like I always felt a little cooler. I don't know. It's just been really
fair,
sticky. It's like sticky hot too. It's gross.
It is very sticky hot.
I don't remember that being the issue. Like maybe I was just a kid and I didn't care.
Yeah, that could be.
Or maybe I was just spending too much time in a dark room watching horror films by myself. But
you're Freddy Krueger.
I'm Freddy Krueger, and Freddy Krueger does live in a boiler room, so maybe it just didn't bother me.
I do have to say, though, I think it was 2 mornings ago, I woke up, I couldn't really sleep, and I woke up kind of early and let the dog out, and I opened the back door, and I just had this, like, nice, chilly feeling, and I was, like, smelling the air, and I was like, oh, it smells like the bus stop. So I feel like we're getting there. It's almost the school year.
Is there a smell to the bus stop? Like, I'm imagining, like...
Oh, you didn't know?
You know that bus driver in a Goofy movie?
Yeah.
The big fat bulldog?
I'm gonna sit on my butt.
Yeah. That guy. One? Yeah. I'm just imagining, like, his butt crack. Like, what that would smell like. And that's what I would smell like the bus stop.
That's not the smell I'm talking about at all.
You talking about like burnt rubber?
No, I'm picturing morning dew. It has nothing to do with the bus. It's more
exhaust.
The morning dew.
Exhaust.
You have some new beginning of school year like pair of jeans on, so you smell that like denim smell.
You really only get that on like the first day.
You got the first day of school smell. I don't know. So you got your new backpack on, you step outside, it's kind of dewy. You kind of hear some crickets left over. They're still out there, and you just smell that smell. It's that cricket smell.
I don't think it's crickets you're smelling, but I think it's probably nostalgia that you're smelling.
Yeah, I'll just chalk it up to that bus stop smell.
Smells like, the bulldog bus driver in a Goofy movie's butt crack.
If that works for you, I mean, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I love that movie. That's another movie I adore from my childhood, and I wish our kids enjoyed it more.
Our kids despise it.
Yeah, they don't. We've tried watching it with them, They don't like
Oh
it.
yeah. I'll try and
I just want to be able to quote like, yeah, I want some Hi Dad soup.
oh
Like,
yeah, and they won't watch it. It'll be like, okay, Toy Story 4 again. All right.
yeah, it's they watch, a lot of the movies that they do watch. They watch over and over, which I guess I did as a kid
I
too.
did too. I mean, I watched The Big Green and Cinderella every day.
Because you had to. You didn't have kind of a sketchy video store that you could ride your bike up to that they would be like, hey, little 6-year-old, you can go back into the adult section. We'll turn our eye.
Yeah,
there was an adult section. I never went back into the
Dave.
adult section.
Oh, Dave had an adult section?
Dave had an adult section as a little like curtain room you could walk through, and that was where...
That feels extra slimy.
I mean, your Blockbusters had those too. It was in a room in the back. I think. I don't know. We didn't have a Blockbuster. I can't remember.
I know they had like Mike and Ike's that I was never allowed to buy because they were like $3.
That's pretty. Yeah, Mike and Ike's. That's pretty raunchy.
I was never allowed to buy that video store candy.
Ours didn't have candy. Ours had a VHS rewinder in the shape of a Corvette. So when you brought it in, they would just push it in and it rewound the tape. Oh man, that's something I do not miss from my childhood is having to rewind VHS tapes.
Be kind, rewind.
Be kind, rewind. Now it's just I have to physically, well, not even this anymore. I was gonna say like I have to physically get up and swap this disc out for another disc.
We don't even do that
anymore. Now I have to maybe swap to a different streaming service, which is just a different button on my remote, but.
What a crazy life.
Man, we really we take things for granted a lot.
Yeah. We're about 3 years away from turning into those like fat Wall-E people. You know what I mean?
In our seats.
Just never having to move.
Never having to move. Man.
That's kind of crazy.
Don't take the simple things for granted. Hug your remote, kiss it and tell it you love it. Just like you would your kids. But yeah, no, like there's so many conveniences now that we didn't have as a kid. Like I remember, so like I did have my own TV in my room. You did not. But I had like my own TV and VHS or VCR, and I had my own Nintendo. That's another thing that, like I've, from the time I was a small kid, like I was born with a Nintendo in the house. And I kind of just took over that as I was like 4 years old and fell in love with Mario and Duck Hunt and, like all these old Nintendo games, Mega Man, Bomberman, loved it so much. And that was kind of like one of those things that I just grew up with. And I still to this day, like I try to find as much time as I can to play games. But yeah, like I remember just having to physically sit in front of, the TV because my controller would only stretch so far. It
stretches like 2 feet. So you had to,
watching it on this like smaller than 19-inch television with crappy sound. And like now I've got a full on like nice OLED TV down in our basement, and I've got my PS5.
And you can sit across the room.
I can sit across the house if I wanted to. I wouldn't be able to see. Like I can stream from the PS5 to like another device. Like I can literally play in another area. But it's crazy like how far things of like kids will never know.
I know. It's crazy.
Okay, boomer.
Okay, boomer. Yeah, you had a different experience. You were like the oldest and the boy, and you got to take control of all of the video game consoles. And
for the first 5 years of my life, I was the only child.
Yeah,
so
true.
I was a little spoiled there for a while, up until like I thought I was Freddy Krueger until it dawned on me I'm having a little sister. I can't be Freddy Krueger.
Oh, you're a human after all. Yeah,
I can die.
I just had to. My brother took over our video game systems because you didn't have multiple, systems like a lot of kids do now. Like kids will have like their own Switch and
our kids,
all of that.
They have their Switch. I'm the one with the multiple systems.
That's true. Well, we didn't have that. We had like, one system at a time, and my brother was always on it. So, he would be laying on his stomach 2 feet away from the TV with the cord, and I would just be like sitting on his back, just like staring at like what he was doing. He wouldn't even
play a 2-player game for you?
Oh no, he would never do that. He said I sucked.
I mean, back then, most of the 2-player games you had to take, like you were still taking turns and swapping off. Like you weren't really playing at the same time unless it was like maybe a basketball game or a sports game or something like that.
He was too competitive, and like he wanted things to progress. He wasn't trying to entertain his little sister. Like I was 5 years younger and I sucked at Mario. He told me that.
I mean, maybe he did. He probably did too, though. So
Yeah, I don't know.
we don't. Who knows? So yeah, I didn't have to share any of my stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah.
because I was 5 years old when my sister was born, and by the time she was old enough to want to do any of that stuff, I don't know.
I mean, it was the same with me and my brother. So like he's 5 years older than me.
I guess that's true. So yeah, I didn't really give turns.
Yeah.
I think eventually my sister might have gotten her own Super Nintendo. At some point. I don't know that I think that was around the time that the Nintendo 64 came out though.
Yeah.
And, I did not get my Nintendo 64, like when it first, like that Christmas that it first came out. So I'm not like, like that YouTube, N64 kid, like, oh my God, Nintendo 64, like opening it up on Christmas morning. And like, I had to sit through, so to give you some context, we didn't really have like a very good grocery store in the small town that I grew up in.
Dave's Grocery?
No, it was not Dave's Grocery. But so we went to most of the time if we were grocery shopping, we'd go over to like the next bigger town that had a Walmart, and we'd do our grocery shopping at Walmart. And back in those days, Walmart actually had a pretty decent electronics section where they had video games set up that you could play in the store. And I just remember I loved going grocery shopping with my mom because my mom would go grocery shopping and I would sneak away to electronics and I would just play Nintendo 64 for, a good like hour and a half while my mom like went through the store and got all the things that she needed to get. And I did that for a year, just playing like basically just like Super Mario 64 over and over and over again in that store. And, I finally got an N64 on the Christmas after the year it came out. And I was still like that, like just excited kid, like, oh my God. And
what year did it release?
I think it was 96 was the year it released. So I think I would have gotten mine. Well, I think maybe it was late 95 going into 96.
Okay.
I'm a little fuzzy on it's either that or the following year. But I know that I got it the Christmas after the big release.
I know that my brother got the 64 on Christmas morning, but I don't know if it was the year it released because I have a very clear memory.
They were really hard to get your hands on.
Yeah, I feel like I would have been too young to remember if he would have gotten it on like the year it released. But because I have a clear memory of that, like him opening that and him playing with like stretching the face for like 1 hour before he even started the game on the Mario 64.
Yeah, I did that too. And I loved being, just kind of like morphing it to see like how weird you can make Mario look. And then that was a nice little like, that was the menu.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, I'm in for a treat here.
Oh yeah.
Because you could only great. I think in the store demo version, you could only play so much of it. You couldn't even like get past like certain points. So I never really got to like do much with it. It was basically just playing the same level over and over again.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, that was, just having your own like kind of like games and stuff. Like they were basically like, I don't know, like my parents. The video games were my parents. My parents didn't really pay much attention to me as a kid.
Okay. The video games parented you.
Yeah,
is that what you're saying? Okay.
I learned all of my morals. That's probably why I no longer think that I'm Freddy Krueger, is because I got video games in my life.
That's where you learned your morals.
Like Mario saves the princess. He wasn't trying to, slaughter her in her dreams or anything. So
yeah, he's a hero.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of where some of my morality and just the, learning right from wrong came from video games. Of course, now there's a lot of games. Like, I don't think it works the same way for kids these days because there's a lot of games where, you can choose to be good or bad. And it's just so fun to be bad.
It's actually really fun to be bad. Our middle daughter was talking to me about that the other night. She was, she's really into playing Roblox and The Sims. And she purposefully likes to choose to be like the bad characters because it's just more fun, she said. And she's like, yeah, I like to make like, like throwaway characters, like not her serious characters, but, just make like some crazy one that you don't really care about and just do all the bad things. And then you get in trouble in the game and it doesn't matter because it wasn't your real character. And I was kind of thinking to myself, that's not a bad idea that, the kids get all of those like weird impulse feelings out on, the fake video games and they know it's not okay. And then they don't have to, react in those ways in real life. If you think about it.
I mean,
video games are a good
video
parent.
games are they're a good way for kids to kind of get out some of that aggression.
Yeah.
Music's the same way. So like it's weird because we very much grew up in that time period where like video games and heavy music, like that was the devil.
Yeah.
And you know, everyone kind of like, you know, like the kids that were into that, like it was looked down on.
Harry Potter's the devil.
Yeah, like literally like anything fun was the devil. So I don't think that like, I don't know, like that is interesting though, like that you say, like it really is, it was a way to kind of channel aggression. Like I was never an aggressive or physical kid. And a lot of it is probably, I don't know if it's just maybe not in my bones. Like I'm not like an aggressive person.
Right. Yeah.
But you know, I had video games to kind of like, you know, okay, I'll just play some Halo and
Well,
shoot
what's
some
great
grunts.
in video games too is even if you are bad, there's consequences you have to pay in those games to be bad. So you see, you know, even though it's not real life, even if you're a child playing some type of, you know, innocent game, if you choose the bad path, like for one, you're not going to win. You're probably like something bad's going to happen to you.
You won't get the good ending.
You won't
get like a subpar ending typically.
Yeah.
Or, you know, let's like throw Skyrim out there,
or
for
it's
instance.
like
You're
cheating.
having to,
like you're not, if you're cheating, you're not getting to play through all the storyline. So it's, I don't know.
It takes some of the fun. But I feel like games have come a long way in the sense that like nowadays there are, I don't know, a lot of games like those RPG style games where you can choose to be good or bad. Like you kind of get an equal ending. Sometimes like the bad ending is the better ending. I would argue like Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic was one of the big RPG games of like my youth, like being bad, like choosing to be a Sith had the better ending. So I don't know. Sometimes they reward you for being bad.
So I feel like when I was younger, I like to play games too, but for different reasons. I really enjoyed games that let you do like creative things, and that tied into like playing with my dolls as well. So I like to play Sims just like Maggie does now, and that's something that we relate to. But I feel like she likes Sims for more of the storyline, and I liked Sims for the design aspect. So I would spend hours just creating a home and, you know, being able to decorate. And that was like creative fulfillment for me. And I would do the same thing with my dolls. So I was never playing family with my dolls like, oh, I'll be the dad and you be the mom. I just wanted to like create their outfits, and I wanted to create their home, and, you know, always be taking like scraps of wood from my dad's garage and like building like really crude doll houses. And I loved that. And I feel like that's kind of followed me like into my life now, just being a homeowner. And the only trick is, you know, you need a lot of money to be able to decorate. You can't do rosebud like on Sims. So
was that the money cheat code?
Yeah, that's the little money cheat code that you can use on the Sims game and have unlimited money. And I think about that all the time now as an adult when, you know, we're sitting down making lists of projects we want to do around the house. I'm like, man, damn it, I need that rosebud cheat so bad. It just adds up after a while.
Wouldn't it be nice to just, you know, like have unlimited funds to, you know, I don't think that I would even go so crazy as like a lot of people, like they win the lottery or whatever and they go out and buy like the biggest house that they can. And that usually ends up screwing them because then they have no money to pay the taxes and they just can't afford the utilities and all of that in a big house.
It's not realistic.
It's not realistic. You know, like what I would do, I might purchase a different home. Not a crazy one, but like just something that fit more like of exactly like what it, because like with every house that we've had so far, like you have to make compromises. You can't have everything that you want. Right. I would probably get something that checked more of those boxes that I could see us, you know, really like just growing old and probably dying in.
Like one, it would have to have a boiler room. Two, it would be on Elm Street.
I can't sleep not in a boiler room. Oh, so when we were house hunting this last time, there was a nearby town that had a home on an Elm Street, and I was like, oh, like I am Freddy. An Elm Street in Ohio. Oh, it'd be perfect.
Were the movies filmed in Ohio?
I mean, it's set in Ohio.
Okay.
It was filmed in LA, but it's the house. Gotcha. The house, Nancy's home in Nightmare on Elm Street, actually just sold a couple like last year or something like that. But yeah, it's in LA. but it's
Okay.
it's set in
But
Ohio.
it's set in Ohio. Okay.
Most of those like slasher films and like horror films, like they're all like they take place in either Ohio or Indiana or Illinois.
Guess
So
it's just a creepy
Midwest, man.
creepy area.
Yeah, I can't think of like, I don't know, I can't really think of any that don't take place in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Other than I think maybe Camp Crystal Lake of Jason Voorhees, I think is like up in like
that
New
like
York, isn't it?
Oh, is it? Okay.
Maybe.
I
I
thought it was
can't
like
remember.
Great Lakes area or like Wisconsin
No,
type area.
no. I'm pretty sure it's in like
Okay.
New York or like some more like like that part, like East Coast area somewhere like inland though.
Well, I guess there's nothing else to do in places like this except for dream up horror films. So.
Yeah, or just get slaughtered.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I would buy like a mansion either if we
No, I would just
won the lottery.
I would get something that checked the boxes that we needed,
Yeah.
and I would make that nice.
I
would
just
make
want to
that
make our
nice.
space like perfect so that when you come home, you just feel all like fuzzy inside.
And then I would request an auxiliary building detached from the house in which I could put a studio for podcasting, for video, for I would
A space
love that.
to create the.
Where I don't have to worry about like, oh crap, well our kids aren't in bed yet, so can't record this podcast.
I know, that's what I worry about. I feel like we do have to do it late at night, and sometimes we're tired.
Yeah. So it would, I think if what were we talking about? Like, no, it wasn't winning the lottery. It was just having, Rosebud, like having unlimited funds.
Unlimited funds. What would you do?
No, I wouldn't go like so crazy as I wouldn't have like a mansion. I think that I would just find something that checked all the boxes, pay off my student loans, any debt that I had, so that we could just be comfortable.
Yeah,
we
just
could be
love
comfortable.
to be comfortable. And then if food is a big one. I love to eat.
Ooh, I would be setting us up to be able, like, you'd bet your ass I'd be buying us deep freezers to put all like I'd be buying us like full cows, sticking that in the deep freeze. Like we'd be getting some of those vacuum seal things. Like I'd set us up to where we could easily store food in mass quantities of it so that we would never have to worry about going hungry.
Well, also, if just say we had that Rosebud cheap function and had unlimited funds, would you use that to just buy all the things that you needed to be able to make like some type of amazing feature length film? Because then you would have money to hire
I wouldn't
help
dump
and
money.
a team.
So here's the thing. I don't think that I would dump money into that project, but I would love to invest enough into if I had Rosebud and it was unlimited funds.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm thinking like, I've won the lottery and I've got so much, but
this is Rosebud.
Not, okay,
like,
Rosebud.
If you run out of 50,000, just type in Rosebud, you'll get another 50,000.
I'm full on I'm building if I have unlimited money, never have to worry about like, taxes coming back to bite me in the ass or anything, or like running out of that unlimited money. Mm-hmm. I'm building like a fucking warehouse in our backyard that has like a full on studio, like film set studio, and I'm just going crazy.
Would you do like Woodstock 29?
No. that might have seemed a little out of nowhere. We were watching Trainwreck, was that what it was called?
Yeah,
the new Netflix docuseries on Woodstock 99, and just that whole train wreck. It was an interesting
music
watch.
festival.
Obviously, like I remember as a kid, like Woodstock 99 happening. I remember seeing clips on MTV of it and everything, but that was.
I had no clue that happened. I was just a kid and I was very sheltered and I was just watching Cinderella back home. But
yeah, Rosebud. So, I'd be sensible. But yeah, I think that if we had unlimited money, those are the things that I would spend the money on.
Like your passion projects.
Those passions. Like I would never have to worry about like, oh, well, I don't have the energy to do this because I had to go to work and I had to
because your work would be,
making
for one,
these
your family, like we would have our family, which would be taken care of and we wouldn't have to worry about because we'd have unlimited money.
And if we started running out of money, just go put the code in again.
Just put the code in again. Yeah.
Which Sims game was it that had the gnome that you had to go out and like that was like how you did the cheats? Like you clicked on the.
I don't think I played that one, so I'm not sure. I just remember the Rosebud.
Sims 3, maybe.
Okay.
I know like most of them have like a command thing that comes up that you just type in whatever.
It's changed now. It's like motherload now.
Oh yeah, motherload,
Yeah,
motherload.
is the cheat
Well,
code.
I
But
feel like one of them, maybe they're both still things. I think one of them's for unlimited money and one's for like 50,000 millions at a time.
I think
or
that's
something
what
like.
Rosebud is.
Okay,
I feel
okay.
like. But yeah, I just feel like, yeah, that would be so cool. You wouldn't have to actually work at a job that you didn't want to be doing to just survive, but you would be working on all of your passion projects, and it would be so cool.
Let me ask you this: if money were not like a thing that you had to worry about, I don't feel like either of us are the type of people that would ever quit our jobs. Like, not quit our jobs in the sense of like, okay, I'm just not going to work. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, like if I had unlimited funds, I would be purchasing like the equipment to get my own like thing, like studio up and going or something. But if you didn't have to worry about like, oh, like, well, I have to have this job to like help pay our mortgage. Like, if you don't have to worry about like that sort of stuff, what would you do, job wise? Like, what,
Job-wise?
like, what would be your like your dream job?
Honestly, I would be right there with you.
Just doing what I'm doing, living off my dream.
I mean, it wouldn't be living off
Freddie.
your dream. I feel like, I mean, I'm not a dream sucker. That is also like would be such a fulfilling life to me. And it would be something that we would be building together. And obviously I'd have other like side passions, but as far as like something big, I would want to like work on something awesome together and like grow something really big.
So if we have any wealthy investors out there listening, we want to make some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Fund us.
We'll start with the short film for spooky season. We'll see how it goes from there.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I know I keep saying I'm gonna do it, and I haven't really progressed on it very much recently, but it's gonna happen. Okay, so you played, Sims. You liked the design aspects of that.
Loved that. I loved dreaming that, I could just create this fabulous space that just fit my personality. It was usually like more like kind of old, like Victorian style. Like there was always
Gothic.
like weird, like just a Gothic
Gargoyles,
style, like and
dark walls.
Yeah, I don't know why, because that's such a stark contrast to like what I like now. Just very clean and minimalist, like type feel.
I would always build like spooky houses in Sims. I would love to have a spooky house in person. The problem is the outside of our house doesn't match what the inside. But we could make the inside look spooky, just like those like dark, deep greens.
Oh yeah. Just that lighting that's like almost candlelight. We can at least turn one room of our home into something like that. I
feel like our neighbors would probably think that we were Satanists or something.
They might. I don't know.
They might already think that, to be honest.
I mean, we're halfway there if we're the only Democrats on the block, so.
Ooh, you just lost half our viewers.
Whoops, did I say that out loud?
But all right. So what are some other things that, like you've throughout your life, like you have really gotten into that you might have grown out of, or, kids kind of just got in the way. I keep coming back to that.
I don't think I've really grown out of anything. It's just, I don't practice things as much. Like I still have all the same passions. It's just about, finding that time. I still am just passionate about like anything and everything, like fantasy related. Love books, love movies. Obviously, we talked about that a lot. I just love all of that. I love kind of escaping into a different world. Anything creative and, using my mind to create something, whether it be drawing, anything like that. So yeah, that hasn't left me. That still is me. Even if people look at me and I'm just the mom, like that's still in there. Moms can have interests and passions too. But yeah, I just need to find that time to kind of practice those things, whether it be like teaching the kids, like doing it with them, kind of changing what I used to do into more of passing it down or using it as a way to bond, I think is really what I need to look to at this point.
If I were to buy you some horse t-shirts for Christmas, would you wear them?
I wasn't the horse girl.
You weren't the horse girl?
No.
I would have sworn you said you were the horse girl.
I was not the horse girl.
What girl were you?
That I don't know. You'd have to ask, people that grew up with me. I think it's hard to know, what thing you are in the moment. Like there might be people listening that went to school with me that would be like, oh no, she was totally the horse girl. No, I was never the horse girl, but
Nay.
I don't know if people thought of me as like nerdy or
I was
outgoing. I don't know.
It's harder. Like the line for our generation, and more so for our kids' generation, the line between like what's nerdy and what's not is very, very like unclear.
Well, it's like nerdy is cool now.
Nerdy is cool now. Even like when I was growing up, like
Which
yes, like it was still like kind of like
bit.
you're still kind of like the black sheep or whatever. Like
yeah,
I don't know. Like I mean, I played video games. Around like probably like more like middle school, I started getting more into like anime, and I was always like into like wrestling, and I was always the things that like most kids would be like, oh, that's fucking weird.
Yeah.
And
so
like,
you would have been like of our generation, like the ultra nerd. Like,
yeah, I mean,
but those are all really cool things.
I mean, kind of. They have their ups and downs. I mean, I think that I kind of went through like, I loved all these things growing up, and then you kind of get into like high school age, and you kind of just get distracted by, other things that are happening. Like I got really into music for a long time. Like I was in a band at like high school and college. And it was like, that took over my life quite a bit to where like, I lapsed, and I didn't watch anime for years. Like I lapsed in anime. I stopped watching wrestling. I mean, it's because it started getting bad, but that's a whole different story. But yeah, so I stopped doing a lot of these things that I just really loved and enjoyed.
Yeah.
Because like I outgrew them. I became too cool for all of those things. Even video games, to an extent, during like my college years, I stopped playing video games a lot. And these are things as an adult, now that I've got like more like, I don't know, like I don't care about what people think, and I've got like things kind of like, they slowed down in some aspects of my life, like socially things slowed down. I've come back to these things. Like a few years ago, I think that I bought maybe oh no, we were watching after Milo was born, we watched Glow on Netflix, and that series like just reignited, like there was so much nostalgia that I had like for like just old school wrestling. So I started like, I got the WWE network, and I started watching like just old pay-per-views.
You immediately started just,
man, I just like,
throwing yourself into that.
I wasn't even watching new stuff necessarily at first. I was just watching all this old wrestling. I got like the newest wrestling video game that had come out that year, just because like I always loved playing the games when I was like a kid. And that started like kind of bridging the gap between like what I used to watch and like what's happening now. And
yeah. Well, that was the first time I ever started watching. Like I had never watched that as a kid. Like I know like my brother and like cousins would watch that, and they would like put their like violent like wrestling moves on me, and I just hated that.
Do,
yeah, as older brothers and older cousins do.
That was another thing. Like I can remember, I think it was probably second grade. So this was 1997 and 1998. This is like, the Attitude Era for WWE, like it has just kicked off. Like they just became TV 14, and like things started getting more like mature, like they're as far as like their content, and like the matches started getting like much more like gruesome, and so like it was very impressionable. But I remember like second grade, like I had a friend that I stayed with. Like my mom worked in the evening, so like his parents would babysit me, and so I was always with him on like the nights that like wrestling, like Monday Night Raw and everything was happening, and Monday Nitro for WCW was still around at the time and in its prime, and I'd never really watched wrestling prior to that, and it just like, I don't know, every Monday night we watched that. We flipped channels back and forth between Raw and Nitro, or we'd have one in one room and like one in another room. We would run back and forth, and from like 8 to 10 o'clock watching this every single week. Going up to the video store transitioned from me going up and getting R-rated horror films to me getting old pay-per-view wrestling tapes. And
I thought you were going to say that Dave let you in his back room. I was like, oh my goodness.
No, I did not not going to Dave's back room. That was the naughty room. Even I knew not to go back in there. But no, yeah, like I kind of like wrestling was like such a big thing for me as a kid, to the point where like I started asking my dad to like take me to live events, and I got to see some pretty cool matches when I was younger. So I was, as an adult, like I started getting back into this, and like I was thinking like, I bet you the kids would love this. Like I could take them to these things. And I think that for a while I got some traction on it. Like they were like watching with me. They knew a lot of the characters.
Yeah.
We took Evelyn to a Monday Night Raw a couple years ago, and I think 3 hours was too long for her.
I mean, you even had me for a while. Like I was watching it with you religiously for a little bit and actually getting into it instead of just making fun of it. But then like when COVID hit, I feel like I just lost interest in it.
The COVID era of wrestling was like really well. Like there was no crowd, and I think the audience and that energy, like it feeds the entertainers, and I don't know.
It was just awkward.
It was very awkward.
Weird to watch. And I just, after that, I didn't keep up on the storylines anymore. I
stopped watching for the long, and even up till recently, I have not been watching like anything WWE related, just because like it sucks. It sucks so bad. I'm not going to like bore you with this. Maybe we'll have an episode with a guest talking about like doing some deep dive into wrestling at some point. But there have been some recent changes that I'm pretty excited about. So I actually have been kind of tuning in a little bit more recently.
I've seen your upswing in like Wrestle Talk lately. Like,
oh yeah, my YouTube channels that I listen to, and I still keep up on news regardless of whether or not I was watching it. But yeah, I've just been kind of excited about it again recently. But yeah, I tried to get the kids into it, and like there for a while, it seemed like it was working. Didn't get too much traction there. One thing that I will say that like it was a big part of my childhood, that I've recently gotten back into again and been doing more of, that Maggie has gotten hooked to, is anime.
Yeah.
I remember anime. I watched like as a kid, like in the mornings, like Sailor Moon and stuff like that would be on like TV while I was getting ready for school. Which I don't know like how much I would consider that like traditional anime, but I was probably second or third grade. Like I discovered Dragon Ball, like Toonami came out, and like I discovered Dragon Ball Z, and like that blew my little like mind. Like that was so cool. Like all the power ups, and Kandace hates it when I watch Dragon Ball as an adult.
Only when I'm trying to fall asleep.
Oh yeah, it's my favorite. My favorite thing is to watch anime while she's like, because she falls asleep. So I'm like, I'm not going to watch a series that we're trying to watch together. So I'll throw on some anime, and I've been trying to like catch up on all the ones that I've missed. But yeah, a while back, like I was watching a series called Demon Slayer on like in our living room, and Maggie came down and sat next to me and started watching it, and she was just hooked. So she's
it's a popular one right now.
Yeah, she's obsessed with Demon Slayer. She's been watching My Hero Academia. Like she really likes that.
And that's like your guys' thing. Like that's like
very
your
much our
father-daughter like bonding. Like it's just you guys. it's kind of cute. You know, I'd come down in the morning, just see you guys watching that before school, and I don't join in because I'm like, that's their thing. Like that's just that's cute.
But she's even too cool for me now. She's already like
she watches on her own now a lot.
I feel like it's been a summer of gaming for her. Like she's got a computer in her room, so she's playing Sims and Roblox and all of these things, and she doesn't want to hang out with her dad anymore.
Yeah,
so I got to turn my attention to Milo and bond with him over Stranger Things and scary stuff, and he's starting to get into like Minecraft now, so I feel like I could probably
and Legos.
Legos. I was never really like a big Lego kid. I loved playing with Legos, but I guess I don't know if my mom just they never bought me Legos or like what it was.
They're spendy. They're not cheap, but we have a nice little collection going now. I just love how
the sets never stay together.
Oh no. So none of the sets stay together, but
I'm actually kind of okay with it because like he is so imaginative. Like he has been going through, he's got this like big, just kind of like gray,
it's like the
ground
big square
like,
grid.
Yeah, the grid that you can like build onto. And he's been like just making his own sets. And I mean, granted, it's not anything like super duper like advanced, but
no, but he's
for someone
making
his age,
things that are
he made the other day, there's a PC game called Poppy Playtime, that's like really big on like YouTube and stuff, and like all the kids are really into it. Like we played the first chapter of it on the computer last week, and he like memorized like most of the level,
and
he like laid it out on this Lego grid pretty accurately and like had like little scenes going on, like, oh, that's when this happens. And I'm like, dude, that's a really good memory. And that's pretty detailed.
Yeah. And this week he's been going through all of the little Lego figures, and he's kind of like taken all of their hair and like heads off, and he's like mix matching them to create new characters to make all of the Stranger Things characters. So he just finds like, he'll line them all up and be like, Mom, which head looks the most like Vecna? Or which head looks the most like 11? And he'll just kind of like Frankenstein these like new Lego people together and build what he calls Stranger Things levels. But yeah, he has this like creative little mind, and he'll just sit there for what feels like hours, just like building and creating things. It's awesome.
It is. All this to say, like, throughout your life, you might have like interests and hobbies and things that you like get into that, they might fade away. But, like having kids, a lot of those they've come back, and it's been like a good bonding experience. I'm looking forward to there's plenty of other things I could sit here and talk about that I was into as a kid or even as an adult that like, I just hope that like they have some interest in at some point. Like I'm also like as an adult, one of my biggest hobbies has been just camera gear and photography and making videos. And like, I hope that like, I would love to get the kids more involved in doing stuff like that. And I think that they would really like that too. So maybe that happens at some point, but
I'm telling you, we're going to make a family business.
I would love that. I don't know what the labor laws around, doing that with the kids are, but I don't know. We'll see. It's for allowance.
It's for allowance. Yeah.
And a roof over their head.
No, it's fun. I would love to, share all of our interests together and just do some awesome stuff with it.
Hey, if any of the things that we've talked about today, like if you are passionate about any of those things, I would love to have you on the show.
Oh, yeah, we'd love to talk to some other people.
Even if it's just me and you and talking about wrestling while Kandace sits there and rolls her eyes at us, like that would be a good episode. Or, Kandace and somebody else talking about horse shirts while I sit here and just try not to laugh the whole time. Like I think that was basically the episode with Lauren. You guys just reliving horse shirt days. And
before we end this, I just have to clarify one more time. I was not the horse girl.
Were you the wolves girl?
No.
The wolves howling at the moon?
I was just really cool.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening to this episode of the Couple Podcast. I'm Justin Tyler.
And I'm Kandace Tyler.
And hopefully you're filling your cup right now. I'm about to fill mine with some water.
I'm about to fill mine with some sleep.
And good night.
Until next time.
Auf Wiedersehen.
I gotta get the last word in.
Sayonara.
Good night.
Ciao.
Bye.